Olá e seja muito bem-vindo a este programa hoje, super especial. Estou hoje muito entusiasmado para receber aqui dois excelentes convidados que vamos ter durante a sessão de hoje. Hoje vamos estar à conversa com o autor deste livro, o Tim Ash. Será aqui o nosso convidado super especial para este evento que, espero eu, seja do seu agrado aqui. E sim, fique por aqui porque este livro pode ser seu diretamente dos Estados Unidos e assinado pelo autor. É verdade. É sobre este livro, Unleash Your Primal Brain, que vamos falar hoje em inglês, para poder também aqui testar digamos assim, os seus conhecimentos, eventualmente de inglês. Fique por aqui durante estes próximos 30 a 45 minutos. Estaremos aqui numa excelente conversa com todos os que aqui se vão hoje participar. Como vos disse, tenho aqui também a enorme prazer de receber aqui então os meus excelentes convidados. Hello, team! Hello, Claudia!
Hola, meus amigos.
Olá.
Very happy to be with you.
Boa tarde.
Excellent. So Tim just started with Portuguese, the best Portuguese ever. First of all,
That's it.
Tim,
I don't know. I know obrigado and bom dia. That's it.
that's it.
Great.
Tim, first of all, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. We are honored to have you here to show you to our Portuguese audience. We're very glad to have this conversation. And of course, this first few words are, of course, for you to acknowledge, this kind of early in the Americas here, but I think it will be more than there's next 30 to 45 minutes with you here.
Well, I drank my tea, so I'm ready.
Great. So Claudia is with me, and she's co-hosting the event with me. So we are with everyone, and of course with a big author like Tim. I was not capable of doing it myself, so I need to invite Claudia to join in. So we have a colorful session today. And so Claudia, again, thank you very much for accepting my challenge to be with me here and getting this incredible conversation we will have with Tim.
Okay, thank you, Pedro. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and thank you, Tim, for joining us. It's a pleasure. I will briefly present Tim. So Tim is an acknowledged authority on evolutionary psychology and digital marketing. He's a highly requested international keynote speaker and the best-selling author of Unleash Your Primal Brain and Landing Page Optimization. Another book. Yeah, thanks. Tim has been mentioned by Forbes as a top 10 online marketing expert and by Entrepreneur magazine as an online marketing influencer to watch. For 19 years, he was the co-founder and CEO of a digital optimization agency where he helped to create over $1.2 billion in value for companies around the world, like Google, Expedia, eHarmony, Facebook, American Express, Nestle, Siemens, and Cisco, among others. So, and a fun fact about Tim, he's also a Tai Chi Chuan instructor, painter, photographer, and a salsa dancer. Love that.
That's how I met my wife, actually, was salsa dancing.
Wow.
Incredible. You never knew, huh? You never knew.
No.
And today we are going to talk with Tim about his new book, Unleash Your Primal Brain, that I really enjoyed reading it.
Thank you.
So it's quite an understandable book. Almost like a manual about human behavior, consumer behavior, leadership, also marketing, sales, persuasion. So how did you get there? What was the trigger point to take you to write that book?
Well, that's a great question. As you mentioned, I ran a digital marketing agency and I've written books on my specialty in digital
Yeah.
marketing, which is landing page optimization, or CRO, as it's also called. But we weren't curing cancer. You know, we weren't doing anything that important. We were taking consumers' money from one bank account at one company and putting it instead into another company's bank account. So I've always been interested in the brain and cognition, and a lot of the techniques we used were based on neuromarketing. So understanding how the brain really works. But I wanted to go back to the brain itself and just explain that to people. Because I think many of us have myths about the way the brain works. And I
We
wanted
don't
to,
know how it works.
yeah, you know, so we say we have a left brain and a right brain, or we don't use 100% of our brain, this kind of bullshit, you know. And so I wanted to explain how the brain really came to be. And the only way to do that is to explain the arc of evolutionary psychology. We share a lot of things with very early forms of life, including insects. And then there are some things at the end of evolution, the recent evolution, that make us very different from other kinds of animals. So I had to retrace that whole arc. So the book talks about brain chemistry, memory, learning, and then our social natures, storytelling, culture spread, all of that. So
A lot of information there.
So, Tim, I was curious, who was this book designed for? Who were you thinking when you were
Your target.
setting up
yeah,
this
that's
book?
a good
What was
question.
the focus, the main idea to have it?
The main idea is to explain how human beings work. It's to explain what all 8 billion of us on the planet have in common. And so in terms of the target audiences, most people think of me as specializing in digital marketing. And I wanted to, so it's still useful for that. If you read it as a marketer or sales or leadership or anything in business, you're going to get a lot of information out of it. Most of that $1.2 billion in value, Claudia, that you mentioned, was based on these durable neuromarketing principles. But also you can read it for relationships, understanding how you interact with other people, tribes, groups, culture, storytelling. And you can also read it for personal development. There's stuff in there about memory and learning and sleep. And chasing happiness and why you shouldn't do that, and how to live a better life by understanding how your brain really works. So 3 audiences: business, relationships, and personal growth.
It's a really broad audience. So
yeah, it's not applied to anything. By the way, it's not technical at all. I mean, there's no footnotes, no studies, no graphs.
As I said, it's really understandable and easy to read. So
yeah, I tried to design it to be exciting and to be almost like a detective story to find out who we really are.
And it's easy to understand. So in our days where we have a lot of information coming from everywhere, it is really easy to read. And
and it's not a thick book. It's only about 250 pages, so don't be scared. You know,
and it has cartoons also in the middle,
Claudia, just let me interrupt a little bit to hear. Tell everyone who is watching us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, we have a book giveaway. But this is not an unusual. It's quite an unusual book giveaway. Why? Because it has a signed copy of the Unleash Your Primal Brain book. Yeah. So, what do you have to do to have a chance to get this copy today? So you just need to go on LinkedIn, grab a picture of this event, take a picture from your mobile phone, and send this post to tim@timash.com. So it's kind of easy, and then Tim will decide who will be the lucky winner of this incredible book.
Yes, and I'll announce that tomorrow to the winner by email. Yeah.
Okay, so excellent. So announcing tomorrow. So all you need to do is post something on LinkedIn mentioning Tim and taking a picture so Tim sees this on his email. Okay. So Claudia, sorry to interrupt. I think that was interesting to hear.
It's your moment.
The audience would be interesting to hear all of these things here.
Tim, let's dive a bit into the book. So you mentioned the primal brain and the conscious brain. Could you briefly explain us the difference between both?
Yes, well, we have a bias in Western thought, in European thought, going back to Socrates and the ancient Greeks, saying that what makes us different from other animals is our rational mind. If we could only be rational and tame those wild emotions, we'd make better decisions and have a better life. Well, it turns out that's not true at all. Your rational brain takes a lot of energy. It gets tired. It makes bad decisions at the end of the day, or if you haven't eaten in a while. This has been shown to happen. The one that basically does all the hard work is the primal brain, and that works tirelessly all day long. When you're awake, when you're asleep. For example, when you slept last night, you didn't have to think about your heart beating. Your body did that for you. Yeah. Digestion, breathing, all of those things happen automatically, and your primal brain makes all of the decisions. And I mean that literally. You can't make a decision with the conscious brain. All it can do is provide you options. The primal brain decides based on the strongest emotions and what it means for our survival, what option to take.
It's quite primitive, in fact.
Yes, it's no. Well, and it's not, and we say that like the word primitive even means something bad, right? We have a judgment about primitive, and it's not bad. It means it worked. It worked in different kinds of life. For example, there's a chemical called dopamine in our brain. We've all heard about it, like chasing rewards, and those 3 little dots on social media when someone's writing a response back to you, and you're waiting for it. Well, there's nothing human about dopamine. We share it with fruit flies, with insects that evolved 400 million years ago. So we have to enjoy and take advantage of our evolutionary history, not to fight against it.
Yeah.
Tim, one question. This book was launched in a very special moment in time, in this pandemic era here. So 2020 was a really challenging year for everyone, but somebody who is here today spent the time to write a book. How was this book writing process?
Well, this is my 3rd book, and I've always slipped deadlines. I always fell behind deadlines. With my publishers hated me, but this time it was a discipline because I was doing a lot of public speaking, as you mentioned. I was supposed to be last year in Moscow, Russia, 2 stops in Italy, Sao Paulo, Brazil, at Digitalks in front of 17,000. None of that happened. So I had time to finish my book. This book I've been writing it for 2 years, and last spring I finished it. So having the pandemic and the lockdowns focused me and actually gave me the discipline to finish the book. I started with the ebook, and then in the summer I recorded the audiobook version of it myself. So that's a lot of fun to listen to. And then, sorry,
how long did it take to read the book?
To write the book was 2 years.
To
record the audiobook was about 3 weeks.
Audiobook.
Yeah, wow. 3 weeks to record the audiobook. I built my own sound isolation booth.
Right. Usually I do listen to a lot of audiobooks. I don't know about you, everybody who is attending this, watching at this moment. I do a lot of listening, and the books that are usually read by the authors have just that special touch.
They do.
Usually you sensed it. Of course, there are amazing guys reading the book, but there will be some of the books. Well, it depends, of course. Some authors will be like super boring.
Yes.
But others will be so enthusiastic that you will not stop.
That's me. And so, by the way, if you get the audiobook, a lot of people thought I didn't know how to record stuff because my voice changed. And this is what I would do. I would, in the book, as Claudia mentioned, I have call outs. Just about on every page, I have these hands ripping through the book with important points. So I wanted to do that somehow with audio. And so what I did was I would be talking and talking and talking and reading the book. And then I would say, this is an important point. So my voice And people think, oh, you don't know how to record a book. And so they didn't understand that those were the call outs or important.
Yeah, but I think I read it in, I think last year, a book with Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, Gary.
Gary, it's an incredible guy. And if you audio read the book, Gary is completely off the charts because he will say, well, I wasn't supposed to say this, but
yeah, he swears a lot. Yeah.
So he he gives a lot of extras during the book reading. So of course,
it's more exciting.
The audience
I'd say
to hear that he has a few things to say a little bit more. This is not seen on the book, but I need to tell you.
Bonus material.
Bonus.
No, I think anytime you have the author, they know their material, they're passionate about it. If they're a good public speaker, that's important. Gary's a keynote speaker like I am. So if you have an author and they're a public speaker, get the audiobook. The only thing I would say is mine is also a reference work. So you're going to be underlining a lot. So it's good to listen to it, but then it's good to go back through the physical copy. And for a book like this, you're going to want to take a lot of notes.
A lot of notes, yeah. So the book process, the book writing was definitely a challenge, I believe. But of course, because you didn't have all those traveling, so you end up saying, okay, this is the year to put my book on the line here. So. Yes,
and a shout out to my publisher Morgan James here in the U.S. It's available, of course, everywhere worldwide. But my friend Tony Nash, who runs Booktopia in Australia, their biggest book selling site, also has a publishing division, and they published my book first. So if you're in Australia or New Zealand, you can get it on Booktopia. That came out last September, 6 months before the rest of the world got the book.
Congratulations. Tim, you talk about a lot about emotions, that emotions are guides for actions, that they dictate affinities or aversions based on past experience and memories. And also you mentioned something that I really resonate also a lot, that we often operate under high levels of self-induced stress that drips poison into us daily, what you called mental noise. What do you think we should do to avoid that noise?
That's a great question. In the past, most of our brain was tuned to survival, and it was about running away from animals that tried to eat us or finding food. I mean, there were immediate tasks. And so if you were triggered stress chemicals like adrenaline and cortisol, it was just for a few minutes. So if the bear is trying to eat you, you have to fight the bear or run away.
For hours, days, and months, like we live sometimes.
Yeah, now our stress is different. Our stress is, do I have a job and can I pay the mortgage? Or did I get enough likes on my social media post? It's this status stuff, and it never goes away. It's always that those stress chemicals are always dripping into our bloodstream, and they last a lot longer than happy chemicals. Happy chemicals usually last a few seconds or minutes. Stress chemicals last for hours or days. So one of the things that I recommend
we focus on negative things also.
Sorry?
We focus on negative things mostly.
We have a negativity bias. So we focus on survival threats and loss and things like that twice as much as we do on happy stuff. So you have to overcome this by having a positivity bias. Instead of saying what could go wrong, you have to get into a mental habit of saying, what if everything went right? What if everything happened exactly the way I want it to happen? So you have to compensate for the fact that your mind is more negative. And also have perspective, because most things are not a survival threat. You're not going to die because you didn't get your VIP tickets or something to a concert.
To see the broader picture.
Yes. Our brains were designed for a very hard life, and it's actually a lot easier now. And so we have to remind ourselves that our life is good. One of the other things I talk about is gratitude, remembering all the good things that happen in your life. I write a journal daily at night, it's on my bedstand, and I just write down a few quick things that happened.
Yes, I also do that.
I went on my walk. I saw a cat. I did my Tai Chi by the ocean. My kid actually said, "I love you" back when I said I love them. This is for teenagers. It's very uncommon. So all those little things I remember before I go to sleep.
Great. Awesome.
So do you journal? I mean, for all of you who are watching now, do you journal daily? It means, do you take notes to say, I'm grateful for today? Did you know, Tim, today I made this day the gratitude day. So today, from the beginning, from early morning, I'm calling a few friends to tell them I love them and I really enjoy their friendship. Well, of course, Claudia knows we have this last few days. It was a professional, a Portuguese digital marketing professional. She died yesterday, and so today was my day to make to be grateful for the friends I have, and so eventually good things to acknowledge and in life. And the journal really is sometimes a moment of introspection, of to be with yourself, and eventually a nice thing. Eventually, a couple of people watching will start making. I need to journal. More
and by the way, it doesn't have to be something complicated. I don't mean writing a lot of things. I just do bullet points, 5, 6, 10 things that happen a day. Remember the good things. It turns out that our brain processes information that we experience in the last hour before sleep 5 or 6 times more than the rest of the day's events combined. So you're basically taking the rest of the day and you're just getting the highlights, the good stuff, and you're remembering it. And so your mind goes to sleep with that information refreshed. And a lot of people, religious people, they'll say prayers at night, and they'll include everyone they're grateful for, their family, their friends, and it's the same idea. And you don't have to be a big writer. I spend 30 seconds doing this every night.
And also helps you to be in the present moment.
Yes.
Since you are acknowledging all that.
Yeah. And I have a whole chapter in the book about addiction and some of the problems, with brain chemistry and how we using artificial drugs, and addiction is not good. Let's just say that. And gratitude is one of the few non-addictive ways that we have it's a renewable resource. We can always get goodness in our life from gratitude without getting the problems of addiction.
Great.
So we are here today with Tim Ash, the author of Unleash Your Primal Brain, the book author. Okay, it's in English. And if you would like, somebody probably is saying, well, Pedro, I would love to have the book. So this is a chance. If you like a signed copy of this book, you just need to do 2 things. 1, post a photo of this session today on LinkedIn mentioning Tim. I think there's nobody with this name, so it's going to be easy for you to find. Okay. And of course, if you find somebody with hair, it's not him.
It's not me.
Not him. So all you have to do, the second step, is to send an email to Tim saying, Tim, I was here today and saw your amazing presentation with my friends in Portugal. So it's so easy to find this option here. So please don't tell, Pedro, Tim didn't give us anything. So I am waiting for your email here to Tim. And so tomorrow, Tim is announcing by email to the winner of this.
Yes, I'll email all of the people that send me an email, and I'll reply with who is the winner. And I'll send them a signed copy of my book. By the way, if you want to get a sample chapter of your choice, you can do that right now by going to the Primal Brain website. So go to primalbrain.com, click on the book link, When you get there, you can get a sample chapter. You just pick one, look through the table of contents, decide which one you want, and email me, fill out a form, and then I'll just send you a sample chapter of your choice. But you don't have to do that either. You can just buy the book. I promise you're going to love it.
Great, excellent. So, Tim, I was wondering, and we spoke. You have explained a while ago the different purposes of the book. So, why should readers in 2021 would have to read this book? Why should you think readers should read this book? You have 2 or 3 reasons to say, well, I believe readers, and we are facing an era and a moment in time that I think will be remembered for years to come. And so what do you think are the main reasons for people to grab this book now and read it fast?
Yeah, well, I think this book is about how your brain works, and how your brain works affects everything in your life. And so if you want to understand politics, if you want to understand company culture, if you want to have better relationships with people around you, if you want to not get mad at yourself for those things you do that are kind of undermine your best decisions, all of that information is there. This is basically the operating system for being a human being. And it's an ambitious book, as Claudia mentioned. I cover a lot in it, but it's really kind of foundational. So if you want to have success in your business life or your personal life, you need to understand the most important organ in your body, which is your brain.
Okay. Yeah, great. And also, going a little bit deeper and double clicking, in the chapter 2, you say you can't teach an old dog new things.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
But today, and especially in our field, we need to be learning constantly in order to keep up with the trends. So, how do we get to learn new things, and how do we get to people to get to pay attention to our messages? So, because it's a lot of information around.
Yeah, great question. So there's 2 questions: can we learn new things, and how do we get people to pay attention to our messages? So first of all, in terms of learning, our brains are at the very beginning of our life very plastic. They're open to new experiences. Other animals have pre-wired abilities. For example, a giraffe is born, it drops to the ground, and within 1 hour or to 1 day, it can walk and follow its mother. We can't do that. We can't walk for 1 year, our first year of our life. All of that energy is spent taking in experiences around us, watching people. We have these things called mirror neurons, where we watch people's behavior and everything they do. And we learn and learn and learn. Our brain isn't fully mature until our 40s. And it's not mostly mature till our mid-20s. So we learn slower, but we learn more. But once that learning has happened, especially after the first 5 years of life, learning slows down and we rely on what we learned. So it's harder to change our brain after that. It's harder to learn as an adult than it is as a child. But
it is possible.
It is possible, of course. In fact, intermittent fasting or short-term fasting actually has been shown to grow new neurons. So if you want to try a diet, you should do.
No, sometimes I do it, not often, but.
Yeah, it's possible. But basically, if you think of it this way, if you have a very fast highway, you can travel at high speeds, and next to it, you're trying to build a new road and you have to cut through all the trees and everything to make progress, that's a lot more work. So you're going to use the highways you've already built in your brain, and it's very hard to create new roads.
And also related to what we were saying about the sleeping, and also you talk about healthy living, and that helps also for you to
sleep is critical.
Absorb new things.
I have a whole chapter on sleep. If you're not getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, you're killing yourself. I just saw a New York Times article that said people that only sleep 6 hours a day in their 50s have a 30% higher risk of dementia.
Yeah.
That's how important sleep is for a
And
lot
in,
of reasons.
in Portugal, we have awful ratios of sleeping. I've read that already.
Yeah.
People don't give it don't pay the enough attention to sleep.
Yeah, there's no form of life on earth that lives more than a few days that doesn't have some form of sleep. Sleep is not optional. If you think you're being more productive by waking up at 4 a.m. and starting work, you're wrong. So to answer your other question, though,
Tim, you're not definitely from the group of Robin Sharma, the 5 a.m. Club.
Oh, so, you know what, Pedro, I have no problem with the 5 a.m. club as long as you go to sleep by 9 p.m. If you get your 8 hours of sleep, that's fine. But you can't cheat. You're not being more productive by if you get less than 7 hours of sleep a night, you're less creative. You can't learn new information. And you're paranoid, and you think other people are out to get you, and you're much more reactive.
Aggressive.
Yeah, you're aggressive and paranoid. So I don't want to be that way. I would rather sleep. So, Claudia, to answer your second question, how do we convince other people or influence other people? The best way to do it is storytelling. Stories evolved in order to help us make sense of the world. And by hearing other people's stories, we're almost taking secondhand experience in. You can, if someone's telling a story and someone's listening to the story, the same parts of their brain will get in sync with each other, synchronize. And so it's like having experience without paying the price. So anything you tell, don't do it in hard facts. Tell a story. Tell whatever you're saying, do it in story form. It goes past all of the logical stuff in the brain and gets directly into the brain of another person.
Yeah.
Claudia, just to have here, we have a question from the audience. Diana Abreu, thank you. Diana, Tim is questioning how to keep your brain in a good mood in the context of pandemic with long days full of Zooms.
Well, I have a whole chapter at the end on how to be more primal. And so there's some things I talk about. So sleep is critical, as I mentioned. Be in your body. Your brain doesn't rule your body. It's part of your body. So exercise, getting outside, all of those things are very important. Any mindfulness practices you have. I do Tai Chi. If you do yoga or meditation. Daily mindfulness practices to tune into your brain and your body and quiet all of that is important. And then one thing people overlook is social contact. I know it's hard during a pandemic, but any way you can get social contact is important. There have been studies that say people that don't have good social support, their health outcomes in terms of their life, their medical outcomes is like being a 2-pack-a-day cigarette smoker. Social isolation is the worst thing you can do to human beings. So if you're at home, even if you're in your lockdown pod, hugs are very important. And hold them for 20 seconds. Hug at least 10 times a day. That actually gets oxytocin flowing, and that makes you feel better. So long hugs and skin-on-skin contact whenever you can get it, from whoever you can get it.
No, it's not
don't
assault
people. Let me be clear. Don't assault strangers on the street and hug them, okay? But if people voluntarily want to hug, welcome that. Thank you for your great question.
Tim, I have a more practical question. In terms of, you say people are lazy, impatient, and like simple choices.
It's true.
And that it's not about technology, it's mainly about evolutionary psychology. So how do you think as marketers should address that in a better and effective way? How should we give us some tactical ideas of how to better use the messages, how to better communicate with the consumers?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So one of the things that the human brain takes a lot of energy to run. Even our ape cousins, they only use 8% of their resting metabolism of their energy every day to power their brain. We use 24%, 3 times as much. So it's very energy intensive. So our brain tries to be on autopilot, to do nothing. So most of the time, there's all this information coming in. The right answer is to do nothing. to just keep going, doing what we're doing. So as marketers, we're not really competing against our competitors like we think of them. We're competing against the person doing nothing. So the first thing you have to do is motivate me to do something. And
take action.
And we talk about that. So the negativity bias is very strong. A lot of marketers say, you'll have whiter teeth and fresh breath and be better looking and be rich. All the positive stuff. Instead, they should say, no, you're going to have a bad life. You're going to be sick. You're going to die alone.
Start with the pain.
Yeah, you have to rub salt into the wound. No pain, no gain. So the biggest mistake I've seen marketers make is not to use negativity. You should first create a discomfort with staying on the same path and doing nothing. You should tell me how bad it is if I stay on this path that I'm on. And only then can you present something that makes my pain go away. Yeah. Don't go positive at the beginning. Go negative.
Claudia, we have, I think here in Portugal, I mean, I remember when I went to the UK, and when you had big highways, they would usually say, well, the next 10 kilometers, the last year, more than 100 people have died here. And so usually they get you a punch in the face. You're saying, well, I'm just driving a high.
Yeah. So, and by the way, I'm not, a lot of marketers, especially at bigger companies, they say that's off brand for us. We don't say bad things.
Only positive things.
Only positive things. And that's a mistake. You know, you're not saying bad things about your competitors. You don't have to do that. You can just say, what are the full implications of what the staying on the same path that I'm on? That's what you're talking about.
Solutions to problems mainly.
Yeah. If there's no problem, there's no solution.
Yeah. Focus on the problem. Yeah.
So, Tim, as you said, at the end of the book, you give the readers a personal challenge, a big personal challenge. Well, we are just closing our incredible talk here today. We're speaking with Tim Ash, the author of Unleash Your Primal Brain. And I was wondering what the challenges in this challenging year of 2021, with all, of course, with 2020, what challenges are you trying to create to readers, so readers will say, okay, I'm ending my book reading, and what's next? And so what challenges of course, don't tell everything, please. Give users the curiosity to know what other challenges. So one or two challenges here that you probably would like to professionals to address in this 2021.
Well, I would say that the most important one right now, society is very individualistic. And with social media and the profit motive there, we're all in our little echo chambers. We're talking to other people just like us. And we've come to believe that that's the truth. People are very cultural. We're designed to spread culture, to work inside of our tribe, to believe everything that people in our tribe believe. And that can be used to divide us, especially in times of uncertainty. What we do is we don't even trust our own experience, our own eyes. We trust the cultural learning from our tribe. So politicians use that to divide us.
Social proof, you mentioned?
Yeah, social proof, but specifically, you have to fit into your tribe. And if you don't fit into your tribe, there are consequences for that. So we're really designed to be compliant. We think we're individuals, but whatever tribe we're in, we get along with people in that tribe. But unfortunately, we divide into tribes very easily too. So one of my wishes for the world is that we look for bigger and bigger tribes. Don't stick to your small tribe. Try to be as universal as you can. Try to spend time with people that have different opinions, to travel again when it's possible, to get different perspectives on life, to not have such a small area of concern. If we don't start caring about this planet, then I think we're going to have a big problem very quickly and have a global extinction crisis. That's where we're headed right now. So stop thinking about yourself, your immediate family, and start empathizing with different people, because we all want the same things. We want to be happy.
Yeah.
We want our children to be well. At that level of universal caring, I think, is where we need to focus.
Great.
Excellent.
Fascinating.
Claudia, I will hand it out to you to make the final remarks here.
Can I make just one more question, because you were talking about empathy.
Before that, let me just tell once again to the people watching at home, at work, everywhere, maybe at the car, they stop the car just to listen to Tim. If you want to sign a copy of this Primal book, this Unleash Your Primal Brain book, you have to do 2 steps. 1, post a picture on LinkedIn mentioning Tim. And 2nd, getting the picture being sent to Team's email at teamash.com. So it's very easy. It's here on the show notes, and you will have the chance maybe in 2 weeks' time to have an incredible book that will probably open up a few things of your brain, becoming primal brain eventually. So you will thank Tim in the future by, well, at least Tim in April just told me to read this book. And so eventually it will be a nice thing. So Claudia, once again, handing out to you, please, the mic.
No, I just to, you were mentioning, you were talking about empathy, especially now that, that we are working remotely, and leaders need to manage people that they don't see in a daily basis. So any advices or for leaders that need to manage their teams, that since they are different people, and since emotions drive us, and also also have consequences in our behavior. So all of that, how do you think leaders should act towards
Wow. Well, I think leaders should work on reinforcing the culture. We were talking about stories. Tell the stories. Tell the story again and again and again about what you value. That's the role of a leader. It's not a manager. It's not to get things done. It's to make sure everybody becomes a tighter tribe and that your beliefs are the same. That's the role of a leader, and that never changes. And it's always about making sure that the stories you tell include your values. And that's very important. For example, let me give you an example from nearby Spain. I use this in my book. So I can tell you an objective story. You ready? Here it is. So the matador sidestepped in the arena and plunged the sword into the shoulder blades of the charging bull and killed it in one shot. So that's an objective reality. We can record it with a video camera. Yes? But depending on who I tell the story to, they're going to get a very different response. So if I tell that to someone in Spain who likes bullfighting, they'll think it's about honor and tradition and courage and all of these positive things. If I tell that story to someone who's from PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, they're going to think it's animal torture and murder, and it's being paid for by these people buying tickets, and it's disgusting, and it needs to be stopped immediately. So the same story is going to be very different depending on the culture and the beliefs of the person you tell it to. So make sure that you understand as a marketer the audience. That's where it starts and ends. Don't design a product and then tell the whole world about it. Find an audience and then design a product and your messaging for them.
And also a leader, since we were talking about leadership, should do that, or at least try to do that, to understand their team and to understand the differences between them, the difficulties between them, the differences and difficulties that they have, in order also to customize the message and to be more personalized.
Yeah, so I think it comes back to what Dr. Tony Alessandra calls the platinum rule. It's better than the golden rule. The golden rule is do the same thing to people as you want to do them to do to you. The platinum rule is do unto other people as they would have done unto themselves. So it includes that empathy. It includes trying to understand them first.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And also what you said just now about learning, knowing our audience and our public, our target, in order to also to give them the right messages that they want to hear. So great messages. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
So Tim, we're just at the end of this great, excellent 45 minutes talk. It was a pleasure for me, I think, and from Claudia also. We would like you to have as final remarks here to the Portuguese audience. Where can we find your activity? Of course, LinkedIn is one of the places. I have shown your personal website, your primalbrain.com, the website of the book. There are any other things I would like you to have your final statements here, your final thoughts, and we will end the conversation there.
Yeah, well, it's very easy. You can find the info about the book at primalbrain.com. And if you're interested in my keynote speaking or digital marketing services, I do have a wide variety of things to help companies, then go to timash.com. So, and connect with me on LinkedIn, please, and just mention that you saw me on this live, and I would love to connect with you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Claudia, you want to...
no, I just to thanks team I know you are a very busy person, and so thank you very much for your time and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Obrigado, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Great. So we had here today a different book presentation.
Wow.
I think maybe that's our note that the session is over.
Is over. Yes. I don't know. Is that just hold on us to a few seconds because he's handling this. Oh.
So I was trying to change
from
Portuguese. Fatal crash. Bom, dizemos então que foi um prazer imenso receber aqui o time. Vamos provavelmente em futuras situações trazer em futuros eventos aqui também na companhia da Cláudia. Desafiei também para termos aqui também outros convidados internacionais, outros autores premiados aqui, americanos ou de outros países, para trazerem também aqui à comunidade portuguesa também bom se escreve também noutros países. Foi um prazer. Esperamos aqui que o resto da semana seja passada com saúde, gratos à vida.
É mais importante.
Wishing you all the best, Tim. It was a pleasure to have you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, my friends.